mean, I guess I could work it out here, but I just do all my typing at home.
So like your team's account,
Oh, it should be the same one?
it should be the same.
I mean, I guess I'd be able to-
Yeah.
I was just making sure it worked. It wasn't letting me do it the other day.
Yeah,
Okay.
So whenever you get into the city's
Yeah,
team's account,
yeah,
because you don't have like your other teams and then the city's teams all in one window, right? It's like you have to log into separate ones.
mhm,
So use that same username password
all right,
and you should be fine.
all right.
But those are like famous last words with IT stuff.
I have, for my whole time on council, I've had issues just because I have so many repeat stuff. I have 3 freaking Microsoft 365 accounts, which is,
It's tough.
it is tough.
Because it keeps trying to like, which
Uh-huh.
one,
It does, it keeps, yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah, it does. Same thing with Zoom, because I use Zoom every day, and then it'll go and it won't let me into my business account, and I have to log back out. And then and it's like, you're into your personal account. I'm like, well, I don't think I still have a personal.
Yeah.
I mean, I only have one because I registered long, long ago.
Right.
Then it's the city account, and
I used to have this weird thing in OneNote. I would use OneNote a lot, and I had like a personal OneNote account, a city one. And I had this weird cross up where it was the city account,
How's it going, Jordan?
but it didn't recognize it in any of my other apps or logging in.
Pro renter.
I was like, I don't know what's
Can't find
going
a
on.
house. What was that? Does mean you can't find a house? You're a professional renter?
Yes.
You're really bad at the housing market.
People pay you to rent? Is that what a professional renter is?
Wow. This is a good gig if you can get
You're
it.
like, I'm so good at renting, people pay me to do it. I think there's a degree for that now.
It's gonna do that or you're really bad at house shopping.
There were some tenants that became really good at not paying.
That's a good skill, huh? That's out there.
So-
It's actually hard to do because people are pretty
Not during the
intent on getting paid.
Not
Yeah.
during the pandemic, it wasn't.
Yeah, they're like, come and get it.
Yeah, but didn't you get money from
Well,
the
eventually,
government?
eventually, well, I didn't, but
So I have a colleague up in Canada that has some rental properties. And he says that up there, I have in my contract that if you don't pay on time, then you get a late fee. But if you don't pay by mid-month, the rent doubles. He says, and if you don't pay by the 20th, then you're evicted. He says it never fails that they can pay double on the 19th, but they can never pay on time. And he says it just drives me nuts. He's like, how can you suddenly have money on the 19th for double the rent, but you can't pay on time on the 1st?
that wouldn't work here because you're limited to a 10% late fee penalty.
Yeah,
by
this is
law.
Canada, so it's up in Edmonton, so. But yeah, he's like, yeah, so I just, he's like, he would call me and say, do you want something with my fund money this month? I'm like, what do you mean your fund
Are
money?
these our things for
Oh,
today?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so crazy. Commissioner,
Well, you're not, Lorraine.
No, I'm not.
Why does he sound disappointed?
did you actually show up?
The agenda specifically says
Lorraine.
it did.
Well, you get two
Did you
tonight.
actually
Is
show
that
up?
mine
You know what?
on?
I'm gonna
Mine
call,
then?
I'm calling that a win.
So is
Is
Lorraine
that-
actually
Yeah,
coming?
she's got.
Does that mean we got?
She might not be here on time.
Does that mean we got a quorum? We can make decisions tonight too?
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Would you annex in this property?
No.
No, that is your lawsuit
No,
to
that's
deal
not my
with.
lawsuit. I don't know what it was, so it's your lawsuit now.
We have already dealt with that one.
We'll make you a deal.
No, no,
Hey,
no.
hey,
no.
you don't get to make decisions.
I
You got voted as a mayor. You're not decision-making anymore.
You don't get to make deals. The last deal you made really messed us up.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what deal was that?
If you can get the sewer district to take on all of
No.
the grinders and the pumps, the city has nothing to do with it. We'll look
They
into
just
it.
want to swap with you.
No.
Swap with us.
They want to build you a park and swap you for that other parkland that couldn't get developed.
No.
No, why would we
Whoa.
do that?
Wow.
Hey,
Whoa. Look what the storm blew in.
I was actually thinking about you the other day in good.
I was
in
just saying,
good
well, that
terms.
can't be good.
In good terms. Yeah.
We would
so
like to, I
glad.
think we got a meeting on the works. So we're
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
set
so
up you
sorry
and
you're
us.
here.
Yes.
No, it's okay.
How's it going?
I told Brody, I said, just look.
So you want our parkland for land that we can't put restrooms.
They want to
up
put,
on?
they want to develop it. They want to spend $5 million to put the improvements on there for you. So what we've got, we want to set the meeting, just, they're holding our lawsuit so that we can come meet with you, just kind of lay out everything, see if we can all come into some type of something. And if not, we'll just continue on with the lawsuits and everything else and be on our way. But
So,
the city, with the county and the city would like to at least sit down with y'all and talk about it.
I'm willing to sit down and talk.
Without them present, with just us having that discussion.
And apparently I need to find out what other deal I made that was a terrible deal.
yeah, he is not authorized to negotiate.
Me? Actually, he's not authorized to negotiate.
Actually, I am.
He just can't make any decisions.
Hey,
So,
you wanna come sit by me so I can actually meet you in person?
Sure.
I
I
only
just
see
want
her via-
to start
I
by
only see her
saying,
via Zoom.
I did
How
not
do you?
put this cow and horse thing on the agenda. This
I
was not
did.
my doing.
Hold on, what's the cow and horse thing? Please don't involve animal care. Where are we at?
I've
did.
had like 5 people
on.
today ask me
Animal
why I would.
Oh,
Now I want to stick around for that math to go to Clinton, but what?
the
what's this
point
about?
system?
Yeah, I did, because I keep having
Check your
to.
box. Items to something in your box for your days in the sun. Yes.
Why do I have 3-month park log? Copy sent to me?
Yeah, like,
3-month park log?
well, I've already been.
Somebody
you got one.
sent- sent me a park log for a dog. And it
That's
says
really lots of
Poppy
over
Garrett.
Hey, that was them. Randy, we're happy to have you here.
No way, there's been 3 months. I mean, I'm gonna say a matter of a week.
Oh, no.
Just
Please make sure Brody gets a piece of this guy.
What
are you saying?
Everybody that sits by me.
We both know if I would have said it, I would have said it to
That's
you.
how you report a nuisance dog.
I think I heard her say maybe Brody should have 2.
Yeah, okay.
I think I need another one. I just dropped that one on the floor.
What's that?
I need another one. on this drop down.
Well, he's
That works.
like, dog has been barking.
You didn't expect to get it.
Yeah, I get this in every.
No.
I'm just getting used to
I'm
it.
like, yeah.
I'm just glad I didn't put up in a man bun, and then everybody would be having to hate David.
Like, this is a dog that has a lot to say.
Yeah, I called them to make sure that was still how they did it, and they said yes, so I sent that back to them.
Oh, Seth is online.
It should have went back to them.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, Seth is got COVID again. He's
Again?
again.
Well, at least he's thorough.
So
At least we know where to give it to.
we are glad to have him online with us.
Sorry, is that, we're what, COVID 22 now? COVID 22.
Yeah.
No, wait, it's the monkeypox coming next.
No, I
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. No, COVID, I mean, I admit people were in the hospital and such, but at least your face didn't get all sorts of weird blisters.
There are pros and cons to both, right?
I'm sure there are.
It's not gonna happen.
Those are from church headquarters. I had one say, they were made apparently yesterday. What's that?
Religious brownies.
They're religious brownies.
I could use a little God in my life today.
And,
Fantastic.
and,
No longer go to Catholic church.
I,
Do brownies.
No, you can, well,
They're kind of
depends on what
small.
type of brownie you
Go
get.
to church.
They were made a day or two ago. They're those-
Look, I don't
Maybe.
complain. As long as
So
it's-
we've been told
Great.
now that we have a quorum, we can get some decisions done at the county level.
Let's get some business done here
You're
tonight.
trying to tempt us to do something against the law.
Oh, I didn't get a.
Technically, as long as you have a quorum, you can do it.
Well, they're
I mean,
right here.
It's not against the law to have a quorum.
It's against watching the business, as you know. Not in the agenda.
Although I will be sending you guys emails about a few things, so.
You know how to reach us.
Is that our past Christmas?
Okay, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Because I start meetings on time. so.
All right. I like it. Let's do it.
Okay, so it is 6 o'clock, so I'm calling this meeting to order. And the first thing on the agenda is request from Commissioner Kamalu to be on the agenda, and I see she brought her sidekick.
Yeah, we'll talk together and we hear.
Or is it
take only 5
reinforcements?
minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, you
No,
actually have 10 minutes.
oh, yeah? All right, well, we'll go quickly then. So, here's the portfolio list. You wanna take one? I think it was sent to you digitally too, but
We all have
this
it,
is nice and we refer to it. So as you know, yeah, it's super helpful. Like this is
I have
the
that.
cheat sheet to understand, to attempt to understand the county structure and what commissioners spend their time doing. So, when I saw that today, I was like, yeah, it is super helpful. You'll know the right commissioner to reach out to. We try hard not to silo. And I think we're pretty successful to know, quite a bit about all of the things on this paper, but sometimes up to the minute, someone might know a little bit more about certain areas. So we'll kind of tag team. Is there enough for everyone? Oh, good. And I'll expense that. So honestly, in these, when we get to do these visits, and it is a get, we love coming to the cities. It's not rare that we will leave, at some point in a city meeting and you guys go on and on and on, taking care of your city into the night, right? And so we are so thankful for your service and your partnership as local government. A lot of people don't realize counties are considered a subdivision of the state, but we are also considered local government, like the cities are, unlike state and or federal. So anyway, I do a lot of health, human services, and criminal justice. I'll let Commissioner Elliott talk about our Memorial Courthouse grand opening, which you just have those invites for. It's a really big deal for us. You're invited.
So yes, so we sent out the email to you and then invites as well, the Courthouse open house remodel. This was an ongoing project that was, as you know, when you came up and saw the old courthouse, so originally that building was built in the 1880s. Then they added on in the 1930s. And so one of the things that we're going to highlight is that when they built the 1930s edition, they encapsulated the 1880s. And so there's in the red brick original courthouse.
Like
It's in there,
literally.
literally
It's
a building within a building.
yeah.
And when you go up the staircase, which we'll take on tour, we open up one of the stairwells and you'll see the original old keystone that was there for the old window and the door going in, the original 1880s courthouse. We did find some whiskey bottles in the basement from the Prohibition era. They were empty. We figure the sheriff or the judge may have gotten his drink on. We don't know which one, but that's where they would used to bring the inmates up and all that stuff from their old courthouse and the jail and all that. And so this has been a nice project that's been ongoing. What's going to be housed there is kind of the question. Are some of our legal folks are going in the basement? Our civil attorneys on the next floor up will be indigent defense and then pretrial services. Those are what I like to say is I've mentioned them on and right to the mayor. Those are mandates from the state government to us that we have to provide these services, or other states they take care of those, but counties are mandated that we take care of those. So we have space for them. And then on the second floor will be where the original courthouse was on the east side. When we took off the false ceiling, you can see the original corbels that were up there, and they were made out of horsehair. We're going to keep that as a conference room and bring back those corbels so that it's a kind of a conference center room. So it's what will be like what it was when the judges had that room back in the day. And then tourism will be there, and also American Legion proved that they were there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And I didn't want to deal with it. And so we saw the records that they were there from the beginning, from the basement, moving around in that courthouse. So we gave them a little space, basically a little meeting area so they can hold some of their stuff that they have for their ceremonial type stuff, for the funerals and other things of that nature. And then we
They do
have,
a lot of service.
they do. And so we're very proud of this remodel. It's gonna be really good. The landscaping, the green, the drip system landscaping was put in place. The other landscaping, you'll notice there will be no grass, as we are on hold until further notice. We did look into what it would cost for artificial grass, and we about fell over off our seats. And it's like carpet, you have to replace it every 10 years, and so we're just
And
gonna
it
put
gets
some,
really hot.
And you have to vacuum it.
Yeah.
And you can't sit down in it.
yeah, so there's a lot of cons, and so we're just gonna put a layer of protective over it so the wind doesn't blow it off. And we're just gonna hold until time is right when the water conditions are better. And so, but we'll welcome you all to come see that. We'll have those items out on display. They'll be Kentucky 100% proof. I think it was like 90 proof bourbon. So whoever was drinking it got themselves there pretty quick. So other than that, it's a good project. I was on the phone today with our animal care survey study as they're doing out. I think some of the cities have gotten calls on that as well, as we're looking at our facility there, how we move forward. You know, the location is, you know, do we build on that location? What type of building do we build? As you know, we went out for a tax rate to be able to go out and do that tax rate, and when we start to make this process, so the animal care will be its own tax rate on the county taxes. We're just looking at that building. Yes, it's as according from the national people that come in. Councilman Savage, it is an antiquated building. It is falling apart. It is crap. And so we got to do something about it. And so that's where we're looking at saying, okay, for building for the future, where can we locate it? Where is property available? It's nice to have a location that's ideal, that's on and off the freeway, you know, but if we need to build on the current site, we might have to, because the property is hard to come by and scarce. And so we're just kind of working those issues out. It'll be one of those things you're like, man, I run for office hoping to get it done in 4 years. It's taken now 6, it might take 12. It's, you know, hopefully not that long. I want to get it done sooner than later, because it's one of the last projects we want to get done in the county.
It's currently in a study, right?
Yeah, it's in a city.
Yeah. So that's good. It's a good, it's really, if you're gonna make a change, doing it right for the next 50 years, you want to get it right.
Other notes in the county, the medical wing on our facility out west is almost completed. There'll be complete staffing and everything in that. That was when they built the jail. Originally was 300 beds in a small medical area. They then had another 700 beds, and we had an antiquated medical facility. When I first took office, we did have 6 jail medical deaths. And so after looking at the problems that we're having with the changing demographic of the population, with a lot more people having opioid problems, we realized that our jail was antiquated for what we need to do to house people. And so we built this medical area in the back of our current facility. We did go out for bonding originally, paid that off, and so now it is paid and paid in full. And the second floor, we'll still having talks. You know, we would love to have a consolidated dispatch in Davis County. Just saying, so just
We
putting that out
support
there.
that.
I'm pretty sure everyone here.
Everyone here has your
support. We've been
There
pushing for that
happens
for
to be
years.
this other city to the east that you're gonna have to convince.
Right.
Well, east and, well, 2 to the east.
So after going on tour to the Weaver Davis or the Weaver Morgan dispatch and seeing how efficiently they run, you know, with their calls and everything else like that, we are behind. We at least got everybody working on one channel now, which has been great, but there's still some, you know, bringing it together for our county. And I could go on and on and on. So we,
Okay, the Legacy Event Center is another really important thing to understand. So that's the fairgrounds, and for years, commissioners were also trying to figure out how to best use that area now and into the future. And there were pressures on some commissions to just sell the land even. But it's really valuable property. It was originally purchased in case there was more area needed for the sheriff's office. Yeah. But then it's been certainly useful for fairs and for events. After 2008, the equine reservations dropped significantly, and really what was so much in demand then and now are hard floor uses. So it was hard when the equine started to come back. They were treated like everybody else. You know, call and make a reservation and pay to use it. You certainly had equal opportunity, but they felt like they it was harder for them to get the use because there was so much use by other groups needing the hard floor. When the pandemic hit, well, before the pandemic hit, we had seen all the studies and the numbers for a regional sports complex that doesn't exist in our state, doesn't really exist in the region. And those places, they run in the black. They bring in a ton of revenue to jurisdictions because of the tourism and hotel stays and restaurant costs. So not just to that a particular city, but to the whole surrounding area for big events. And so when this commission decided, I give credit to Commissioner Elliott, he talked to Utah State and the extension about a partnership, which worked out.
Syracuse is part of this too.
Oh, good.
About when we located this.
There you go, okay.
Yeah.
Finding a place where it could be all theirs, all the dirt floor users, it could be all theirs. Once we found that place, we felt good about concreting the floor and moving forward with something that really fits the county and the demands of hard floor uses. We decided to start the architectural for concreting floor. That's a very long process. It started pre-pandemic. And then by the time the pandemic came, that concrete cured right before drive-through elections were needed, and then right before the mass vaccination clinic. So we felt pretty grateful that we made those decisions when we made them. And now, though, super cool opportunity, we will do some renovation on that existing large arena, but also build another building next to it, and they will be connected. There will be additional fields outside, and it will become a regional events place. Again, nothing like it exists in this region.
Where's the new Equine Center?
It's going to be located right by the Catesville Ponds there, but down at the center.
So the Caseville location for the Utah State Extension, never been there. They have some property. It's right. The Discovery House is kind of next to the highway, and it's going to be just north of the Discovery House.
And so we already got a contractor picked. We're going to steel package, still state.
Yeah.
But they're going to start breaking
Construction's taking a long time.
ground. This is probably the next equipment's there now, so they're probably start breaking ground soon.
So tourism announced that it was going to be ready for this spring, but it's not. Yeah,
It's just everything's backlog.
It's taking
I get
so
it.
long.
I'm just confirming that.
It bites.
Yeah.
Because we did at the courthouse, we had to wait on windows and they were sitting in the barge forever in the courthouse windows.
It was
So,
supposed to be done in February.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
but hopefully, I mean, I hope once the steel package is there, it'll be a nice, indoor, outdoor facility, stables and all that, parking. And it looks really good in the design. So,
Sustainable into the future, no longer at risk for, people deciding they want to sell it or do different things.
I really feel like the equine community does not know this.
They don't.
They
say
don't.
that. Well,
They're
a lot
not.
of them understand, but one vocal one
What's that?
keeps spreading.
So
I got it.
at least in our community, when I brought this up, because I'd heard this before that it was happening, when I brought it up to them, they seemed to all know. It was like I was telling them something they'd already been very involved in. I'm like, okay, so I'm the last to know, but I mean, they really did. So,
Not the ones I talked to today.
okay,
We count on you to help us. If
Yeah,
you're out there now.
yeah.
that's great. Spread the
Like
word.
we,
but-
we brought some of the key ones in, and
Yeah.
even the one who's still very disappointed was brought in to fully understand.
So, okay.
So-
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah, man.
Thank
we
you.
should probably talk more about that.
All of that.
Because we have one here as well. You know
Yeah.
that.
Well,
You
the
have
posse
another
group,
facility.
Outdoor.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're, that we're not, I wonder if we need to cover it and do stables and all this stuff, if it's gonna be 5 miles down the road, another one. That,
That's fair, yeah.
Competing against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is.
Well, Syracuse has so much of an equine business as it is. I get phone calls every day from people looking for somewhere to keep their horse or just for practice, and I don't do that. So but I don't have anywhere to send them.
This is the place. This will
Buffalo Ranch is
now
a
be the
private,
place.
so.
They're full though.
Are they full?
Yeah, so is the one in
So,
Caseville.
okay,
They're totally full.
So it'll take a while
Mhm.
for this to be indoor to be built, but like it's in the process. And so we're really, really happy to, we think, have found a win-win for all. So it's just a matter of perhaps seeing is believing.
Horse people like their own spot, you know, they do, and we don't believe it until we see it, you're
Yeah.
correct. Like,
Seeing
we're
is
not willing
believing.
to let something go until the other thing is started.
And the one person that I know that is still very sad is the memories of her experience on that exact property are tied up there, which she never wanted that to change generationally, you know, moving forward.
I think any change is generational. I mean, you know, some people just don't want to, and some people do. So,
But anyway,
think of that.
we've tried to get ahead of it and explain, but you're right, some people know, some people don't know. We did involve them. Some of the key longest lasting people were in meetings that we specifically invited them to. And I specifically did a tour with them on the property to the other side of the arena. So we've certainly tried our hardest to do the right thing, and I think in the end, people will find that it was a good solution.
No, she answered my question. You were about to start talking when I interrupted.
Oh, I don't remember now.
Okay.
I mean, we've used our time. If you have any other specific questions.
I have lots of questions, but it would take longer than the 10 minutes we have. I'll reach out.
I do have a
Yeah.
question.
Jordan's interested in trails, which we as a county are all about trails too, so I know some of that.
Can our museum get one of those whiskey bottles?
We're gonna keep it in the courthouse.
There might be
Couple
more
we can,
than
like,
one.
online.
There might be. Shoot an email to me, because I know who to send that to, and you can see if there were a few.
Found two.
We'll go rummage.
There were some things that we did have to make a decision. of whether to
We
keep or
do
not.
have the liquor store. Just saying.
We do in Farmington now.
Okay, I think we're digressing to the point.
But you should come, because we're speaking about museum, I do have, my dad's gonna bring it up for me, Daniel C. Davis's sword. And he was the one with the town. Oh, my dad was playing as a kid up in the old ranch house in the attic and found it, and so he's gonna bring it up from St. George so we can have it during the open house.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Safe Harbor Crisis Center for Survivors of Domestic Violence is having their ribbon cutting also about the same time on June the 9th, on Thursday afternoon, with their new facility, which is on the Intermountain Complex in Layton. That's something to be aware of, that they have been out of capacity for a long time.
The same way.
No, day before.
It's in the, well,
No, this says June 9th.
yeah, you're invited to the VIP the evening of June 9th. Their open house is from 3 to 6 that day, with 4 o'clock ribbon cutting.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
This flyer says the 10th.
Where's the two? But thank you guys, we're gonna go to Lynn.
Okay.
But
Well, you,
reach out as needed, they're for sure.
I do want to hear about the ordinance on animals.
I know. You're welcome to stay. It's going to be a really exciting 30-second
I know.
conversation.
Like, I got my cows and my chickens. Although my chickens, as we just learned this last week, got decimated when I was gone on the other weekend. Raccoons decided to have a day. So, they're like, can you give me eggs? I'm like, I don't have any eggs.
If you need any chicken, sir, I have plenty you could pick from. You'd love
Yeah.
to.
I need some chickens.
Okay, so we're going to move on and open up to public comment. This is a public's chance to speak up to 3 minutes on a topic that may not be on our agenda, or may be on our agenda and want us to know their feelings on it. Go ahead. Yes, you may. And welcome back, retired Officer Penrod, our favorite DARE officer ever. And I suspect that's what you want to talk about.
No. So back there's a camera that makes me nervous and shy, so that could be a problem.
Okay.
Pretend it's not there. I didn't know it was there.
I'll get to it. The 3-minute time limit,
I'm sorry.
that could be a problem.
That's just. what we
However,
have.
I will do my best to
Okay.
be concise. And obviously, Mr. Mayor, you're right. I have unbelievable concerns that this is even being discussed. Now, what I'm going to put forth here is mostly just my experience, certainly as an officer, certainly as a DARE officer, and as a mentor to new DARE officers. DARE is not what it was in the 80s. It's not don't do drugs. It's not you do drugs, you go to jail. It's not a scare tactic. It's not part of the just say no. It has evolved. And what it's evolved to is a program that gives kids empowerment. It teaches kids and gives them the tools to make decisions on their own. And they're faced with it. They're faced with the use of drugs and alcohol, tobacco, prescription drugs, and the list is long. But the program gives them these tools so they can say no to these things that they could be tempted with. The relationships that officers bring to the table is bigger than the DARE program. The DARE program is just a catalyst to literally life-changing and sometimes life-saving actions that these kids may take. I have, again, just my personal experiences, I've had numerous kids come to me because I was their DARE officer and say, my sister who was in 4th grade is sending graphic nude pictures to a junior high boy. It doesn't happen if there's no DARE officer. If I get emotional, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Because this is something I'm passionate about because I've seen the results. We've had 2 children that were being beaten by their dad with chairs, kitchen chairs. Wow. Doesn't come to our attention without a DARE officer. We are stopping behaviors and crimes. One of the biggest crimes in our city's history, Shelby Animals. We were at that time period a little spotty with how we were doing the DARE program. I don't know that it could have made a difference. But I'd sure like to think if I was there, if Officer Pollard was there, maybe this is not an issue or a black mark in Syracuse history. I don't know, but I'd sure like to think maybe, right? Today we had another school shooting. It's going to come. It's going to happen again. Pray to God, not in our city, but it's coming. The last time we had one was Parkland, and I had DARE the next day. For 3 straight days, I never got to teach a DARE lesson. Not because I brought it up, but because those students were scared. Those students wanted answers. How are we safe? What are you doing? All day. That's where we spent talking, comforting those kids who are worried about something that's all the way across the country. They hear, they see the news, they see social media. They know these things are happening. When I talk to them about, this is why we do the drills, this is how come lockdown. I'm not at every school every day when I was in that pool. Now it would be kind of creepy, but when I was there, I wasn't there. But in their minds, they was. When I asked every single class across the board, you guys, you've got an officer in your school. Like, how often do you see me? Once in a while or all the time? And they're like, all the time. I go, do you think there's going to be a lot of bad guys pulling up to the school and they see my police car in front of the school? Kind of like a big watchdog, right? And you could literally see the relief from these kids. They felt safer knowing they had a DARE officer in that school. I am going to read you a letter I got almost to the day 1 year ago. Officer Penrod, I'm writing to tell you thank you. About 2 weeks ago, my 15-year-old finally got the courage to talk to me about some pretty heavy stuff. After almost 2 years of not living with her father, she felt safe enough to talk to me. I found out one of the hardest things a parent can be faced with. We've had Weaver County, DCFS, juvenile courts, on and on. Well, I was very, in this process, she did a forensic interview with the CJC. Well, that was very hard for her, and the detective only told me a small portion of the abuse that she endured at the hands of her father. He did tell me this. The abuse stopped when she went to his house and told him that she had learned in Dare that day. She told him that you, speaking of me, taught her about inappropriate touching. In the moment of pure torture, listening to the things that had happened to my baby girl, I have never been so grateful for a single person in program. I couldn't help but think if she hadn't been there that day, or this program wasn't in our school, what would it have stopped? What would have been the breaking point, or would it still be happening today? I know, like everyone else, you must have had those days. Is it worth it? And am I making a difference? You are. You and the DARE program gave my daughter the tools she needed to end years of abuse that she had endured. You gave my daughter a voice when she needed it the most. I truly can't express enough how unbelievable grateful I am. And then she goes on to just say a couple other things. The DARE program isn't about don't doing drugs. The DARE program isn't about scaring kids into making the right choice. The DARE program is about building relationships with the community. Because of the DARE program, I have lifelong friends. Matter of fact, I could show you really quick. I know my 3 minutes are way past time.
You're way past, but let me just say this, you're the most popular officer in the city because of DARE, and we love you for it, Stan, we do. And I think that there's probably nothing more you can say that's going to change how much we appreciate and respect what you have to say.
I have a picture that was sent to me today of me and a 6th grader at her DARE graduation. Her parents sent it to me today as she's graduated from high school. I haven't heard her talk to this child or her family in 6 years. The impact is everlasting. And to have the opportunity that we have to continue a program that is bigger than just DARE, with the right man, and Officer Pollard, who is here because he wants to be here, because he sees the impact it has had on this community. There's a big difference between officers who are voluntold to do DARE and officers who have a passion and see and understand the need for it. To take away this program that I have seen work time and time again, you would be doing an unbelievable injustice to the community, and most of all, an injustice to these children that we say that we're here for. 2 of my former DARE kids are 2 of our newest officers. That was kind of a clue for me to retire. The impacts are real. And I could be here for hours and give you example. I beg you to reconsider this and look big picture. It's not about money, it's about the community. And that's what DARE does. It connects these kids to our police department, our city. Thanks for the 3 minutes. But I really hope you really consider about what direction you take this away from our kids.
So I'm just going to make this comment because I try to stick very strictly to our 3-minute time limit.
Yeah, sorry.
But respectfully, because you have been with our kids for so long, I felt that it was valid to hear from you, the veteran officer of this, before we address this issue. So I just want to make this, that there was an exception for one reason, and that is that you're probably the most authoritative on this subject that we could get for commentary, and I respect that and appreciate it.
Well, I thank you, and you're welcome. I didn't come in here with a PowerPoint in 3 hours.
Well,
thank you. I really do appreciate you listening, because it matters. So thank you very much.
So I'm going to have to say, if anybody else has 3 minutes.
I'm prepared for 3 minutes.
Okay, join us, Officer Pollard.
How does the rookie DARE officer follow that up?
You don't. He is a legend in our community, and you will be too someday. But
well, I apologize in advance. My brain is very scrambled. I was in a training class today
And I have a very long presentation to give tomorrow, so I've been staring at a computer for several hours. So unlike Stan, I just typed this all out so that I could read it and stick to the time constraints. So Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak for a few minutes about DARE and my perspective on the importance it has in our community. For those of you who don't know, my name is Josh Pollard. I am a police officer here with Syracuse. I'm currently assigned as the new DARE officer. It was a position that I applied for because, not to get too in depth, but my dad is a retired DARE officer from Kaysville. So it's something I've grown up with and been around, something I believe in. Syracuse is my hometown. My family roots reach deep into the city's history. I also currently live in the city still. I love the city and I have a personal investment in its success. I didn't begin my law enforcement career here at Syracuse, but I eventually found my way back here because I wanted to serve the community I grew up in. As most of you are aware, I took over the DARE program from Stan Penrod. Taking over DARE for Stan was a daunting task. Imagine being a rookie in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, is about to retire. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, is about to retire, and the team is putting their faith and hope in you as a new draftee to the Bulls to carry the team into another successful championship season. I can relate to that because that's exactly how I felt a year ago. Over the course of almost 2 decades, Stan built a strong and vibrant DARE program in the city. He developed numerous relationships with students, teachers, PTA members, school administrators. These kinds of relationships not only take time to develop, but a tremendous amount of effort. These relationships are also invaluable to the community and members of the police department. Here at Syracuse PD, we strive every day to be involved with the community and build positive relationships. This community is very supportive of us, and for that I am grateful. I'm here today with the goal of providing you with a little bit of insight as a new rookie DARE officer, and just my perspective of how it's impacted the community. If time permitted, I would read some comments and letters that teachers have sent me about the future of the DARE program and how important it is to them. But for sake of time, we'll just skip that part. The impact of DARE in the community is hard to quantify. The impact certain law enforcement activities has been calculated by comparing things like population size to crimes that occur in the city, then developing a plan to curtail these crimes before they happen. DARE's impact in the community is very difficult to calculate until you start speaking with students, teachers, administrators, and their parents, PTA members, and then you start to get a full perspective. I want to leave you with a quick personal story that has impacted me greatly. When I was a new officer here with Syracuse Police Department, I was dispatched to a residence where a 14-year-old girl was refusing to go to school and threatening suicide with a kitchen knife. When I arrived on scene, I encountered the young girl and her parents inside the garage. I began trying to speak with her about what was troubling her. She refused to talk to me and began shutting down emotionally. After a few minutes of no resolution, suddenly Officer Penrod shows up. And to my surprise, Penrod approached the girl, calling her by name, and immediately engaged in a positive, constructive conversation. As it turns out, the young girl was a former DARE student who Penrod had previously taught. Due to the positive relationship they had previously developed, the situation was resolved in a peaceful manner, free from injury and free from anger or force being used by the police department. This is one of many instances where a DARE officer has positively impacted the community. I again want to thank you for your time, allowing me to say a few words, and I hope you will seriously consider the future of the program.
Okay, is there anyone else here from the community? I don't see any. Okay, so I want to move us on to the next item. And it is discussion regarding the future of DARE. And I want to be very clear that the item here is what is the future, this is not a discussion just to get rid of the program. This is we're faced with a situation where, because of immediate need, an executive decision was made within the department to temporarily suspend DARE. And now the question has come up, what is the path either back or regarding DARE? So this is not a discussion of how we shut down DARE. This is a discussion of what do we do from this point forward. I'll let you make any comments you have there, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, thanks for the time. Those two are going to be tough to follow. The first thing, I mean, obviously you can see their dedication and their commitment to the program, their belief in the program, but and I know this seems a little strange after listening to it, but the purpose of this wasn't to try and put you guys on the spot with it. I'm not necessarily asking for, like a commitment to what's going to happen indefinitely. The concept here, as the mayor said, is very true. We were hit with a staffing situation that got us to the point where we just couldn't provide the normal services we have been providing to the community without pulling a couple positions back, there being one of them. So in February, for all intents and purposes, we shut down the DARE program and we brought Officer Pollard back into patrol. As we know, when we met in our council retreat and we started talking about staffing, one of the things that came up was the DARE program and the fact that for at least this year, the decision was, look, we don't have the money to be able to staff the replacement officer in order to be able to backfill patrol to allow him to go back to DARE. Okay. And that I'm not arguing in any way the decision that you made that day. What I am just asking for is maybe some guidance on your feelings on long-term of the DARE program, because it has some impacts on what we do with staffing. Vehicles are difficult to try and figure out right now, and so we're working through different plans. You've got a DARE truck, but no DARE officer. What do we do with it? There are different things like that. And on top of that, as school came to a close, and I suspect as we get closer to school starting again, Josh has been getting a whole lot of calls and conversation from teachers wanting to know what's going on, what they can expect in the coming year. So really, it's kind of a matter of, could we get as a group a little bit ahead of any blowback that may come to us in August, when we know that we're not putting the program in place for the next school year. So it's just a matter of, is there a message that we can address for something like that? So I gave you the council agenda the agenda item so that you could review some of the factual and historical things about the DARE program. I won't waste time going back over those. I'll just, if you guys have any questions for me or, Mayor, I guess I would say to lead the discussion of whatever they would like to do.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, all options are on the table. I'd like to hear from council what your thoughts are. Again, the one thing that we decided, and that I think probably needs to still be considered, is that management of personnel within this department has been given to the chief. We haven't dictated to him what to do with personnel. And so that I'm not sure that at least from my standpoint, I'm not sure I want to change that. I want that freedom to be yours. But I'm open to whatever anybody else has to say.
So when we had the DARE program, we had how many officers? I know it was up and down.
25.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like, well, when we were teaching it during this year, we would have been allotted for, I believe it's 24, but close enough. But yeah, so prior to when we had to suspend it back, and then we were down.
And we were down four officers at the time.
If you count the ones that would have been recruits, I believe it was 6.
Okay. And what are we up to now?
We would be at,
I know.
believe 22. So
22.
we have 3 openings here.
Okay, so we are targeting 25 officers right now.
Yes, that would be fully allotted at 26.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was pretty sure we added a few.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's at
We'll have
26.
26.
When I say that we're down to 3, it's, I guess I was looking at it and saying the 3 from before we had initiated the other sequence of events.
Agreed. So why, and I don't know the answer, so pardon the naivete. Why could we run the DARE program with 24 officers, but we don't think we can run it with 26?
Councilmember, kind of at your direction and at the mayor's direction, I'm going to have to see how far you want to drill down into staffing and deployment issues in open forum.
I don't want to just try to get into that in open forum.
That's going to be a little bit difficult to answer your question then without being able to do that.
Because I would love to get the DARE program back up and running. I think it is a huge resource for the community. I was fairly sad when the decision was made to pull it back, but I understood the reasoning because the officer safety is our priority and needs to be our priority. But at the same time, I want to understand the nuance involved, because I was hoping that by authorizing the additional officers that we could find a way to get the DARE program back up and running. And so like I said, I don't want to go into this in open forum with all of the different shifts and everything like that, but I would like to talk separately and understand better how we can make that happen.
Council, would it be something you guys would like to see if I were to share with you our, I guess I would say our vision for the patrol division by the time we get all of the the FY23 people allocated. So I'm kind of showing, I would kind of be able to show you a vision of what that would look like. I can share that with you by email.
I think you've shared with us before, but yes, I would like to see it again.
Yeah, I would as well.
And I think the question that we're getting to is hopefully by the time the school year starts again, school just ended, so, or is ending. But the question really comes that when school year starts again, if we assume that all positions are filled, we're up to the 26 officers we currently have allocated, then what do we, I mean, is there a reason we wouldn't be able to go back with this? Or
Doesn't it?
You're welcome to share that privately if we think
when
there's a
you
security issue.
see what the vision of the patrol group would be, I think you'll see why that one position causes a little bit of a ripple in that, which is part of the reason we talked about, the same thing with the Metro position, where it was, hey, if we don't bring another person in to cover that position and we send Metro back, we really haven't increased the amount of people who are directly on the road.
Okay.
So to clarify, so in order to have a DARE officer, would be one additional.
Well, that's the idea with
Potentially.
it. It's just, again, I understand the decisions and I don't have any problem with the decisions that you guys talked about in our budget retreat. This is there's a lot going on within the city. The real question that I was looking for today is, I don't know, maybe just an idea of whether the council sees this as a program that's going away or a program that's just in hibernation.
It's in hibernation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that, as representatives of our citizens, we probably all, I would not bet that most of you have not heard from citizens saying that this is something that they value as a community asset. That's something I've heard quite frequently. And so I would say it's for sure in hibernation. And then Chief, I mean, I think it seems to me that the discussion was more around the fact that we were underserved at certain night shifts. And that really pulled us into a pickle where we had to rectify that concern before we could get back to staffing these other specialty
That
positions.
is definitely part of it, Councilman. Again, when I share with you what the design will look like when we allocate everything that we're planning on from what the council is tentatively authorized for FY 23, I think you'll see the positions there and see the kind of the design of it and why it makes sense.
Can you remind us, Chief, so the number of sworn officers in that vision needed for the DARE officer, and I think that might have been what Paul was saying is it 27?
Does that now mean we need a 27th officer to keep this alive?
Yeah. Whether that's I mean, again, it just depends on what year you're looking at to pull that off and whether that's an issue.
And
Yeah, I mean, it's not to try to get a commitment
No, I
of that
understand.
by any means.
And then you guys will have to educate me since I'm new in this. So historically has our DARE officers always kind of funded by the city through the
Oh,
city,
yeah.
city budget? There's no contribution from,
The school district pays for, they pay, it's not necessarily half, but for all intents and purposes, consider it being half of the SROs for the high school and the junior high. They don't do, yeah, they don't do anything for the DARE program or for elementaries. If we were just to have an elementary liaison, they don't do it for that either.
Which is unfortunate.
what are other do we know what other cities are typically doing when, because I'm assuming most cities have a.
Some cities don't even have the program anymore. They've chosen to let it go. Some cities just have it built in the way that we used to have it built in. And really, I mean, I don't know that this would have really come up except for we had to make a shift at a critical time because we were short staffed.
I don't know that any departments do this right now, but when way back in the day when I taught there, it was like a collateral duty. So on my days off, I would go teach at my one school. Quite frankly, I mean, I think it's better when all of the kids have one person that's their focal point for it.
Right.
You know, having done it that way and seen it this way, I think the impact is better when they have one person that they're all used to.
Well, in 97, a DARE cop saved my life and it had nothing to do with drugs. So it's a necessary thing. I think we should bring it back as soon as we can. The high school especially needs their DARE officer there.
High school
The high school doesn't
Well,
have their-
they don't go to the high school there. Up
No,
here,
That's the
just
school.
the junior high and the elementary school.
So the way that they're not like the
6, 7, and
program
8. Oh, ninth is at the junior high. isn't
Yeah.
it?
ninth is at.
Okay, California.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We do, so historically, we've taught it in the elementary school and it just depended on whether or not it was 5th or 6th. There were some changes during that program wise almost.
Yeah.
So, but kids would have got it in that level. And then those that went to Syracuse Junior High.
Yeah.
Officer Call would have taught it again. If they went to like the Arts Academy, then we weren't teaching it there in the junior high.
There is a
Just
school
junior high,
resource
right?
officer at the high school.
At the high school, yeah.
It's just not with the DARE.
I just remember it in 9th grade. So.
Has any, sorry, I'm just thinking out
Yeah.
of the box, and I realize this is hard for budgeting purposes, but has anybody ever looked at, private funding for the DARE program, for a DARE officer? I mean, we have an awesome community, an awesome business community. I'm a business owner. That's something I would donate towards in my community on an ongoing annual basis, but I don't know if that's ever been evaluated.
I've never on it.
Sponsorship of the
Never on it.
DARE
Is
officer.
that
Is
something
it-
that's allowed, Paul? Is that something that's allowed? Oh, awesome.
It
Yeah,
wouldn't be
that's-
anything that we've done through private donations like that. I did inquire into like being able to use our liquor fund or in the past cops grants, but the problem is then you're supplanting the money. So they won't let you do it.
I would encourage just from an optics point of view, any sponsorship of a police program that, you sponsor the materials
Yeah.
there's $8,000, roughly $8,500 that the city spends on materials.
Sure.
And not, you're not sponsoring someone's wage.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
there's,
that's one
Optics
time.
wise,
there's an
it's hard.
optics there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it. But there's a-
Understood.
They're super,
I'm just kind of
kids
brainstorming.
love their
Yeah.
dare officer, you know, and they tell them more than they tell their parents, you know?
So, I mean, council, if there's more that you want to discuss, I'm more than willing to answer anything else you have. I will plan on Thursday on sending you the design of what we would be looking at. For right now, I think you've given me what I could have hoped for, which is just the direction of, no, we're just needing to hibernate this until we're to a point where we can address the issue. And again, that's all I was really hoping for. Right
yeah,
now.
and I
So,
think that's kind of consensus, is that nobody wants to get rid of it. It's a matter of, we are still allowing your discretion as to deployment, so.
Yes.
So I think we should start addressing the issue, figure out how we can get them back.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
thank you.
appreciate you all.
We did receive a donation for the dare truck.
Yeah,
From the Schwab, right?
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah, that was awesome.
That was
for the
that was
tires.
tires.
Oh, for
Tires.
tires,
Oh, yeah.
that's a big donation. Still,
It
tires
is.
are expensive.
it is. Okay, so our next item is request from Davis County Communities That Care to display magnets on city vehicles. Huh?
Oh, never mind.
Oh. Okay, no,
We good.
sorry, we're good. Anyway, now, I just want to preface this by saying that I absolutely love the illumination event and the CTC group and what they do. The question in my mind when this came up was, how do you differentiate between this and every other request at the same? Now, legally, we do not have to, but consistency is a big deal in having your citizens believe that you are governing equitably. So I'll open it up for discussion.
Do you want me to explain?
Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Yeah,
Please
so
take
sorry,
the
I'm
lead.
losing my voice just a little bit here, but so the campaign is around the Parents Empowered campaign. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercials. They do kind of the ones on anti-alcohol abuse for adolescents and underage drinking. But anyway, CTC sponsored or supported Parents Empowered as a whoa, bless you, whoever that was. But yeah, so they supported this media and education campaign that was supported by legislative dollars in the Utah legislature to prevent underage drinking and give parents and guardians advice and tips and information about the adverse effects of alcohol consumption for youth. And so CTC was granted these dollars to support this campaign in December. And the key leaders group in CTC, if you're not familiar with that, it's a group of stakeholders that are invested in the community. They're elected officials, like we have some. I'm on there at this point. Mike Gailey is part of the board. In 2021, in July, they really pushed for this grant for their member cities, especially around law enforcement. And Garrett can kind of speak to that as well. He attends the board meetings and speaks on behalf of law enforcement. A lot of great work coming out of CTC for law enforcement in support of, reducing adverse childhood experiences and such. And so the whole intent of this project was to get together and mobilize city partners, businesses and such to, excuse me, in our 5 member cities to put these messages of empowering parents to act on underage drinking, to see that message throughout the community. And so really just an information strategy. I don't know if you guys saw my notes last week, but there's more of the targeted, there's universal, and there's like individual efforts that they take. And so this is part of their universal efforts. So it goes out to nobody in specific, but community information. And so really they've got the magnets. They're asking if they can place those on city vehicles and our police vehicles. And yeah, you guys saw samples of them, of the magnets in the
You know for
packet.
sure what the period of time is?
Yeah, Garrett, do you know? I know obviously they're
It's about 5 weeks.
5 weeks. Okay. Yeah, it's really just majority of the summer.
Well, I'm in support of it because they are a part of this organization. So I think that it wouldn't be an issue having a bunch of organizations come to us and say, well, we demand equal time because this is something that we're actually vested in, and several other cities are as well. And we have representation there with our police department and our council, and we host a really large event. And I think there's absolutely only good that comes with that message. You know, looking at it here and it says spend at least 15 minutes of quality time together per day to help prevent underage drinking. I don't think there's anything about that anybody could ever question. And I think there's a lot of power that comes with seeing it repetitively and knowing that your city stands by the organizations that are auxiliaries.
If
So
someone
does
wants
that
to bring
mean-
a magnet that says help prevent suicide, I'll put that on the truck too.
Well, so that's the question. So we have other organizations that we're equally vested in. If all of them came to us with a request to put magnets on city vehicles that they paid for, exact same situation, is our answer yes?
I think
Then
we
turn into a policy.
would consider it.
I think if
Yeah.
people to do our first responders, mental health, brought us a magnet that said, how's your mental health today? I would slap that stuff around my own car.
So I'm good going forward with it. I am willing to look at other requests if there are any. And if it's something that I think is a bad message, obviously I would say no. But
But I don't think we
yeah.
support any
Yeah,
auxiliary organization.
I don't know that there ever would be, but again, the point is just, are you willing to be equal for all that come
Well,
forward?
I think
I'm willing
then
to
we look at a
consider them all.
policy.
I guess what could become problematic with it, or other
The city
than.
vehicles start to look like NASCAR.
Well,
That's
do
what-
only
One,
one
you
at a
can limit
time.
it to maybe
Like
one.
magnet at a time on the back.
And if it turns out that we have a dozen requests, we can say, you know what, every month.
Or
Switch it out.
from a vehicle maintenance or upkeep perspective, I mean, is there issues with that?
I don't think
I
the
don't see
The
it.
only concern I have is just equality, is if other people that come, I mean, what if the youth court says we want a message for this month, and
I would
the
love
arts
to hear it.
council says we want to advertise our show for this summer, or I mean, they're all our sponsored organizations. And what if somebody comes forward and says, I've got a great political cause, and it may be great, and it may, but
Well, political and partisan is very different. None of the things that we support are partisan.
well, again, I'm just bringing to the table, where
That's
does the
fine.
line
Yeah,
of
this
equity?
discussion is for the council to discuss, and I think
Yeah.
that we've all kind of said. we
And
would
it
like to
seems like
support it.
they're not specific to like a specific group. It's just like overall, spend time with your kids. Overall, how's your mental health? Overall, don't burn the house down, things like that.
Not contesting that.
So I'm willing to go forward with this. I think my answers would be yes if this were a voting meeting. Just not, I'm not sure this is a voting item, but I would be willing to consider other interested parties that have a positive and empowering message for our vehicles, that if you want us to put magnets on there, we'd be happy to consider it.
My only, I would tend to agree. I would just say maybe limit it to one message at a time or something. like that.
I think you could maybe even do two, because the tailgate is pretty big.
Well, I mean, so the one that's gonna go on the cop cars is only about 6 inches.
Oh, like I say,
I'm not sure
How are
everybody's
people
gonna have
gonna
to
see
read it.
that?
Not my part of the question, just,
I had to ask
It's
what the
about
little
6 inches
yellow
in
news
diameter.
sticker was. I learned it's an accreditation sticker, but I had to figure out what those were, 'cause I couldn't read them.
It's about that same size.
yeah,
Could they be a little bigger for a purpose? Like, if you're gonna put them on there.
Well, I think the hard part is if you're, the bigger they are, the harder it is to get people to.
I meant,
Something like that.
say what's that?
Well, I was just saying, I mean, we're having a hard time discussing about a 6-inch magnet. So I think, when you bring out a 12, 14, 24-inch magnet, it starts to go, well, do we really want something that big?
A windshield screen.
You can
Decal.
still,
Okay, we'll stick with 6 inches.
you can still read it if, like, when you're
Absolutely.
at a stoplight you know, and you're
Well,
next to it.
In this case,
There's-
they've got it in 2 languages, which. is-
All in favor.
Okay, so I'm gonna rule that from general consensus, we're okay going forward with this.
Yep.
Okay, next item, operating the splash pad. Now, I got 3 positive responses from this, and we've certainly put it out to the community to try and educate that this is a recirculating feature, and this is probably a centralized location where the water would be recaptured. But I did not want us to blindly go forward without having the chance for someone to speak up, because there almost certainly will be criticism at some point when somebody says, you waste millions of gallons of water every day and I can't water my garden. Which we don't waste, it is recirculated, but I think public education has already started.
Love education.
I
Okay.
posted about it, you posted about it, I've seen it on the city website.
Yeah. We gonna learn.
Anybody have any more to say about it?
Nope.
I think it's great, and every other city's shutting theirs down because they don't have the filter feature and have to. So your moms can come hang out in Syracuse and check here.
So is
All
the
right,
goal
so-
to, well, I have a question. Is the goal
Go
to
ahead.
shut it down 12 days early still?
Yeah, I think that's
I
still
think
the,
that's gonna be more dictated by, I mean, yes, but
It's Memorial Day to August 20th this year.
yeah.
And so my question on that is, if we are just topping off the tank and it recirculates, what do we actually save by cutting it off 12 days early versus the communal benefit of having it
Well,
going?
I mean, we should probably keep an eye on it regardless.
I think it was more with respect to once school starts, it was, attendance drops
Yeah.
dramatically. And so, I mean, there's also, you could talk about power usage for the pumps, and it's just, it's
When
not
school
serving the
starts, it
same
goes
number
way
of
down.
people.
Chris, so what is the drop? Do you have an idea?
You'll get only like 3 or 4 kids over there.
Oh, that's. what
Yeah,
was.
once
yeah, it goes from-
schools-
Because all the kids are back at school.
So
from
how about
100
we
to
just say
3.
Till the, till the first day of school.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
the
what
plan
the
is.
plan is right now. And I thought that was a good plan.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we're gonna move on to the planning items. Item G. The first item is proposed ordinance 2022-14, amending the Syracuse City General Plan map for property located approximately 1700 South Banbury Drive from commercial to high-density residential. Noah.
Share my screen here. All right. Okay, so we have our applicant, Eric Craythorne. He owns Banbury Drive. He wants to do townhomes. Currently, he already has general plan and zoning. Let me see if I can sketch, it might help a little bit here.
Yeah, can you
Yeah,
point
it's in the
to the
packet.
area that is being rezoned on Banbury?
Gladly. So this area right here in blue does not have the right general plans.
I'm sorry, what's in blue?
Nobody see anything on, it's in the packet though, very clearly.
Okay, I'm gonna just point the whole crash. Okay, so he does not have the right general plan or zoning for this part of the project. He already has the right general plan and zoning for all of this minus about here down. Okay, so right now we're just looking at the general plan for this.
So why
It's
don't
all
you,
connected.
if it's becoming a parking lot, and this is just me not knowing, if it's becoming a parking lot, why does it need to be rezoned?
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But he already had, so the reason why it's part of this is because his original proposal had townhomes over here.
Right.
And so as almost like an amenity to the project, he's proposing, and I don't want to speak too much for what the developer plans, but he's removing those townhomes and then adding an amenity that would be beneficial for his residents and the future commercial and the people of the park. So he's reducing the density down to 95 units.
Is it affecting the parking within the units?
Nope, everything over here is exactly the same.
So,
literally just
It
erase.
still has to have guest parking on the right side of the street.
And so we've done multiple rounds of review with the applicant to make sure it meets the ordinance, and so we've confirmed that it does meet the ordinance for parking. So I like this plan. I don't think it needs a rezone, but I think this is
Well,
better than
the
what we
the
have.
part below
So,
where he showed you
no.
still needs to be.
No,
That's what I was saying. I thought there was more to this than
There
just
is.
that spot.
That's what I'm clarifying.
just parking lot.
but
What
so-
about the other side that we're switching?
But the other
That's
side
already zoned.
below,
Below.
okay,
Yeah.
no, below where the businesses are, between the two businesses is currently not.
Is zoned as commercial and he's
Yes.
looking for a PRD, and I think
Yes.
that's what you're not saying.
Yeah, because we will still have another item in the future for zoning.
Oh, so that's not part of this.
This is not this.
So
Okay.
this is just the parking lot
This
issue.
is just the general plan.
so does a parking lot fit within general commercial?
Yes.
So, and what, didn't
The
I
only
read that?
only reason we're doing this is because the PRD zone requires that we present a concept plan along with the general.
Okay.
Okay,
And so since this whole project boundary originally, and we already talked about it, had the townhomes over there, figured might as well keep everybody apprised of what's going on to the changes. So your options are to change the general plan or not change the general plan. But understanding that you're looking at a concept plan that will have in short order a rezone application. So this, all of this parking stuff was new information. That's why I got tabled. That's why we're here presenting it, to make sure everybody knows what's going on. But in short order, assuming, he gets positive feedback on this, he'll be applying for a rezone, and you'll see this exact same plan.
Yeah, and the original PRD was approved back in 2016.
Mm,
It's before I was on the
2018.
council.
Yeah, this all.
Before I was on the council.
Yeah, the stuff above the businesses, north of the businesses was all approved for PRD years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, so they held back this frontage right here because they felt that there might be some commercial potential.
Can you talk to that commercial potential in that area?
Yeah,
It
so
looks
you
like
have-
a pretty small.
Yeah, Antelope Drive. Let me see. So you have frontage and access on Antelope Drive. And what would go in to a space like this, it's really pretty shallow, from here to here. You can see that even the Jared is a little bit deeper than what you would get.
It's Pearson's.
Excuse me, Pearson, not Jared. So the city would essentially be comparing those two different land uses, strip commercial or maybe some fast food or, along here in contrast to housing. So these units right here are 3-story.
They be accessed from inside, they wouldn't be accessed.
No
from the road.
driveways, do not
So
want
they
to
can't
allow that.
run in. Okay.
They have a new curb cut right here that lines up with the curb cut to the south. So the south, this is where the Arlo apartment complex is coming in, and these are 3-story apartments.
And even Pearson barely fits on that lot. He's kind of cramped in there.
Honestly, the dimensions of this for commercial viability are cramped. But I'm not gonna say that.
Not saying
it's
it
not.
couldn't be commercial.
But they
Yeah.
can't access from, there's no frontage for them.
I feel like this is a perfect example of give and take. That a parking lot, I like.
Did I read in
I
there
like
that the city would be responsible for maintaining the parking lot?
Is that what it is?
Oh,
That's what's being offered. So with the zoning, we would be approving a development agreement.
Because we'd be using it for our park.
But
I think everybody-
the city,
But it could be connected with whatever businesses. are
Go in there, yeah.
the city has a policy that we do not maintain property that we do not own, but I think that I understand that there's no objection for, as long as of deeding it over to the city, so long as we allow a permanent easement for the development to always use it. Is that accurate? Okay, so that would solve our policy issue.
I'm good with this.
Yeah, eventually all of these will be platted because they're owner
Yeah.
occupied. And so at the final plat, you could have that go to.
There would be no maintenance initially, but you know,
Right.
about the time that we were gonna repave it.
I mean,
Our
there
Well,
was,
policy
there'd be
would say-
landscaping. We'd have to figure out whether or not landscaping. is included in that.
prior to this proposal, it was, townhomes or keep this
Yeah,
commercial. And there was some discussion, at least, is that commercially viable? And I live on Bluff Ridge Drive. That's commercially viable. We have the same exact scenario on Bluff Ridge Drive. My concern is just conceding any of our general commercial land, just because we have so little
in this
left.
proposal, the corner remains commercial property.
I understand that, but we're also,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
we're
we
also
are.
getting rid of commercial frontage, which
But that.
which someone could make viable. I realize it's a little less shallow, but
I agree with you. And we talked, sorry, I'll let you go, Jim.
I feel like the fact that there's businesses coming in right there and that park right there,
I don't
it
mind.
makes a good idea for that parking lot to be there and it doesn't add more traffic to that road. Or there, I mean, that is a lot of living quarters. So we're gonna have a lot of cars already. It just seems like a good idea.
I like the parking lot. I
Yeah,
think
it
that's
does. It's
a
a good
reasonable
compliment for the
solution.
area.
Okay, so I want to give Seth a chance. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
you guys are super easy to follow, but generally speaking, so am I right to understand that we're looking at these as separate items and not discussing the frontage on Antelope in this same exact discussion? Because
Apparently, that's going to have to be a question that we answer again.
that
but-
was my understanding, was that the compromise was that we would grant them the rezone and not have any concerns around the commercial frontage there on Antelope in exchange for deeding over the parking lot. Is that not accurate?
I'm gonna say in a technicality, that's not accurate because we as a city can't ask for something in return for zoning and would not. We would absolutely not, but.
Well, we didn't ask it. It was offered.
Right, I understand, but just the same, the clarification would be that we would agree to maintain the parking lot in future if it were ours. And that's only just because we have a policy, even monument properties in the city that have been deeded over to the city so that the city will take them over. Anyway, that's, so just.
Sure,
we have to
I'm
be-
just, no, I
clear.
understand. I understand the technicalities there. I'm just wondering, I mean, are we all into a place where we're comfortable having a discussion about the other piece of property?
Technically, we can't talk about it. It's not, I mean, I guess we can because it's on the map.
It's all
But-
part of the same project and management wise for our general plan, if you have one project with two different general plans, it's just, a
Okay,
little bit
so
confusing.
I'm gonna say that I'm sensing that we have a majority. Is there any reason to say that we don't at this point? I'm not saying we have a
I think I'm the
unanimous.
only one that's concerned about that commercial frontage.
Well,
I think that.
and the big thing that this answers is with the other commercial areas going in, we are losing a very large part of what is not our parking lot, but it has been historically used as parking for several city events at this park.
Sure.
And I think this is a need that we need to fill, and this helps answer part of that need. And especially where this is going, Eric is, in our conversations, the grand plan in all of this is to work with Sheldon and his land over there and have actually this parking wrap all the way around to there to fill in.
Wrap all the way around which
So,
direction?
so for, can I talk about this? It's a little bit outside, but I think it
I'm not
does
sure
relate
we
to the
can't- we
parking.
can't talk about his property. That's not on the agenda.
Fair, but there are other properties in the area that are also gonna do some parking.
Anyway.
On the south side of the park.
You said his
Okay.
properties. I just said there are properties.
I know, so we wrap around
Parking
this
lot
way.
that's on the-
Yeah, it's a parking lot. And so, but it does fill the need, and we need to do something, and this helps fit that.
Okay.
I feel like it definitely fills the need, but I'd like to compliment the fact that this is such a good give and take. Guys, what a great work with the developer, sir, it just seems like it fixed a lot of issues just by putting a parking lot there.
Okay, so
Sometimes
again, I'm just
Yep.
hearing,
Agreed.
a lot of consensus, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna move us on
Okay.
and say that we're agreeing to move forward with this as is. In general, the voting will happen next month. All right, review land use ordinance regarding farm animal keeping. This is one that I added to because I've had a few people, more than one, ask if we should consider adjusting our ordinance to consider less point value for mini animals of various kinds. Now, we do not have to entertain or make this adjustment. We can make this adjustment if you feel like, keep in mind, the ordinance is here because of the impact on neighbors. If you don't have enough space to take care of animals of various varieties, then they become a nuisance to the neighbors because they're pent into much of a confined space. So
Jordan, you remember when we were talking about apartments and you were like, hey, let's wait for Paul to get back. He really knows this about apartments. But Jen really knows her stuff about animals. Can we just call this a no?
well, we can, but would you just give us just a little bit to go on?
So in
Because
order to
I'm
have-
glad you're here.
I'll give you a specific example. Cows need at least 3 to not cause a ruckus.
You saying 3 acres?
3 cows. You
Oh,
need
3
3 at a
cows.
time for them. Otherwise, if you have 1 or even 2, they will destroy everything as soon as they get physically big enough out of their baby body to do it.
Okay, so to that point, one of the requests came forward and said that goats or sheep or mini goats or mini sheep or mini cows need a friend or they're a problem. So will we not reduce the quantity so that they can have 3 goats instead of 1 goat?
No, we won't, because mini goats and goats don't belong in neighborhoods. They're livestock and they need to be on more than, if you don't have more than like an acre and a half, you should not even consider having things that are so loud that there's a goat 2 houses down from me, and every morning I have to have coffee because with the windows closed, because they make so much noise at the times they're hungry, sun up and sundown. And those are the 2 times where people get really short tempered and they just cause a problem.
Okay, so
I
I
can
would say this
actually,
is great information. Does everybody agree with?
I can hear the
Sorry.
goats.
I have low blood sugar.
So,
today.
from the Bluff Pond, which is actually 2 blocks away, I can often hear the goats at the
I
Bluff
think those are
Pond.
actually our goats.
They are.
One of them was brought to me because he didn't fit in. So now I have Adobo, the city goat.
So I agree with Jen on this one.
Okay, so any other
So we
head
should make
notes?
it more difficult for them to have
Yes,
many
please,
animals.
God,
Multiple
yes.
mini animals.
Well, I think
Yeah,
it's more for the sake of the animals.
Yes, because
Yeah,
a lot of people want to do the fad thing and get, oh, I want a mini horse or a mini donkey or mini cow, and then they don't know how to take care of them. And
and if you're on
then
a 1/4 acre or less, that's probably don't have
Why
enough.
do we have so many mini animals?
And the other thing I'll say is,
So many
that's a whole nother
animals.
conversation.
we actually have had a,
I'll tell you how that all works later.
we've actually had abuse in this community
Yeah, we
where
have.
we have actually had,
Are people like
Animal
abandoning those
hoarders.
animals?
There was a goat right on the north side of my property
Oh, it
line
was
in
way
the
worse than that.
neighborhood. And they never fed it and watered it. I took care of that thing every day through the fence. And it is just this, and I had to wait on animal control forever to come out there to see that thing. And it's just not, it's not a good idea.
an
Well-
animal control had to come out and remove how many animals from that
Like
property?
19 from that
19,
property.
and I'll
How big
just
of a
say,
property?
Yeah,
and they only have like a half acre.
That's not okay.
And the issue you have is not only was those animals were in terrible condition, But it costs the city a fortune in animal control because we're charged for all of that.
Yeah.
Every
I
time
teach
they're
most
called
of them.
to,
Yeah.
They call me.
Virtual head nod. I'm good.
virtual head nod.
Virtual head.
All right, so okay, thank you for your time on this one. I'm gonna move us
I'll
along.
need another brownie,
But
not that kind.
again, to be fair, there were multiple people who asked us to consider it. I don't think we need to go forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Number 3, continued discussion of potential boundary adjustment with West Point City. To move us along, I'm just going to say that my understanding is this has been reduced to West Point just giving us that little piece and no further discussion.
I'm still a no on that.
You don't want them to give us this piece?
But
Yeah.
originally we were,
No, say that's what you
okay, got
reduced
it,
to.
got it.
I'm a yes.
They give us that no other trades, no other parts.
No.
got it. Okay.
You don't
so
want free land?
I misunderstood because originally they
No,
were
yeah,
asking for.
yeah,
more.
that's
So
all
this
that's
is
gone away.
owned by their city. They want to give it.
Yeah.
into our
Privately owned.
And so,
Privately owned, but it's in their city. So they manage this little corner.
okay, so they no longer want part of the golf course and.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
Okay.
this is privately owned,
Okay.
currently owned by UDOT, who is selling to a developer who owns the adjacent property. But however, if you look on this map, you see the light white line,
Mhm.
that's the city boundary. So
Okay,
this is currently in West Point, but because of the West Davis corridor, if you look at the yellow line and the 193 expansion, it creates a isolated piece of West Point that's on the south side.
But you can't get to.
You can't
Right.
get to, there's no other utilities that would serve that. They'd have to serve it through our utility. So whether or not the proposed development with this guy ever comes through or not, I think it's an issue that we're gonna have to cross someday. And West Point knows about it and they're gonna talk about it. So we should probably just figure this out now while the road is under construction.
I feel like West Point kind of went like, pick your battles.
yeah, in that case, I misunderstood. I'm good with this.
Yeah.
From a service delivery.
Does anybody object? Okay, we're going forward with this as is. Okay, number 4, discussion regarding intent to create community development project area plan for the area in 2000 west to 3000 west along the south side of State Road SR 193.
Okay. So the first, we've talked about this, it's in our general plan. There's a big block of land here that has a lot of potential for economic development. The first step to create a CRA is to create a resolution by the city to just announce our intent. Hey, we're gonna create a study. There's not really any commitment other than just, if the purpose is to just announce that, like, hey, we're gonna look, because there's all the other taxing entities that should be notified and things like that of what our agendas are and things like that.
Which is the next step.
So yeah, after we create a study and we figure out kind of what we'd be asking for, we'd be approaching the taxing entities. But for right now, this is what we're thinking as far as what the project area boundary would be. And the reason why it includes some of the homes and even the roads surrounding there is based off of some counsel I was given from the county and the economic development office. The economic development office of the county and then Zions Bank, they just said, if you think you're going to be using any of this funds for infrastructure, including the roadways around there, just cast a larger net so that you have the ability to do that.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't go further west?
That's a good question, because considering the highway extension that's coming, what if we followed that all the way over?
It's a fine line, especially with timing. These things expire. They only give us 10 years to activate them. So if you create too big of an area, you run the risk of not ever getting around to doing anything.
And all my concern is these are gonna go away.
I think that there's support for this for job creation. There's not support for retail anymore because of all the cities battling over Costco's and things like that.
But I think we could certainly create other project areas in the future. I'd just be worried to create, I mean, this is already a big project area as it is.
Okay. I mean, I'll accept the recommendation, but I do think we could go a little further west and, like you said, cast that net just a little bit further.
So the one challenge is going to be we're probably 3 to 4 years out before that extension starts to really be effective. We could be halfway through this project. Maybe that's a good point.
The other thing to consider too is it would be a non-contiguous piece that we're adding. If you're looking at this as far as one development, project area one.
No, I think he's just considering from here, 2,000, go past 3,000 and on down to.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
just go to the
still
freeway instead of
contiguous.
to, which is only like another block, half a block.
Yeah, no, I guess is what I'm saying is it's bifurcated by a major road.
I'm sorry, it's still a word I've never heard before, so I appreciate it.
It's there's a road there.
It's separated.
Separated.
So is there any objection to beginning the process of this as a community development project area?
No.
Seeing none, we will begin this process. Okay, item number H, discussion and proposal of interlocal agreement for billing and collection of fees in advance of life support services. I don't think this one's going to be difficult because it's a county-wide.
Can we just say yes?
Yeah, I mean, we could just make it easier. I mean, say,
Yeah, he's up and gone.
I've got the next two. If you just want to say yes on the next two, I'll just go.
Can I drive it first?
Yes.
okay, so, all right. I don't think anybody objects to the interlocal agreement.
If nobody needs any
Yeah,
explanation on it.
because we're just one.
Can you
city
explain it to
and
me?
We are part of it. So the
that might
next
be
one is the
detailed.
surplus property.
Seth had to beg.
I would like it to be explained in depth.
He would.
Sorry, Seth, you're breaking up. We can't hear you.
Oh.
Okay, surplus
Bifurcated.
property of the 2009 brush truck.
That's a 2002 brush truck and also the 2002 Pierce ladder truck. So the brush truck is in the process of being built right now, but the old one, because we're doing the work, we took the pump off the old one and it's no longer able to be used. So we can surplus that now. The ladder truck is at the Pierce plant. We're scheduled to go back at the end of August to do a final on it. And hopefully the new one will be here September-ish.
And on the,
Fingers crossed.
and
So we would not surplus this
That would-
until it's here.
And yeah, that would not be surplus until the new one is in
Until we
service,
hose
ready
it
to
down and
go.
roll it in.
I'm just adding this all into one so we can
You
get
could ask her
pre-approval
why.
and have it done.
I'll ask that in a second,
Okay.
but just to add some clarification on this, the reason for this the upgrade ladder truck, not only is it reached end of life, but our current ladder is actually too short to service 3-story buildings, what I've been told.
The current ladder is 75 feet, and that's measured from the ground to the ladder. Our new one is 107.
Yeah, which allows us to better serve the taller
3-story
structures we
buildings.
have in the community. And you don't get to drive it.
Why didn't you throw out a week? Because you wanted to. A week could have been more.
Why don't we all get
persuasive.
to drive it? That's-
Like, can we drive it after?
Can
it
we
comes
have
out?
that?
No.
But
I will take you for a ride.
I'm good with that, as
I'd
long as
go
I get
for
to
it.
operate the siren.
Oh my
And
God.
are we going to have the push-in ceremony we didn't get for the last one?
We did get.
We did get that.
We did one.
Was
Yeah.
that the night when they moved it to?
Yeah.
I pushed it.
We had the push-in ceremony for the last engine, and we will have a push-in it ceremony for the ladder truck.
We washed it and pushed it.
I watched
I think I was out on travel apparently.
Break
Okay.
a bottle of champagne on it.
All right, so we're moving on. Proposed amendment. Thank you, Aaron. You, Noah, take note. Look how quick he was.
Ouch, dude.
Proposed amendment to Syracuse City
Nice.
Personal Policy and Procedures Manual.
All right,
Steve,
we're not gonna discuss this tonight. This is presented as a first read only.
There are quite a few changes. It's been a couple of years since we've done an update.
Just
One-
like to have a list of things for you.
One question I have for you is, do you want to have a detailed discussion in the work session in June, or are you okay to take this to a business meeting in June? And have discussion there with the update?
Well, many of these points, as I read through, are dictated to us. There are things that are coming from other mandates. So I don't think we have a lot to discuss because
No,
there's no flexibility.
That wasn't really anything that didn't seem like it. I mean, removing references that were corrected or,
Yeah. There are a couple of major policy
I
changes,
like
but
the
they seem to
mental
be
illness
driven.
and therapist appointment added.
One question I had, and we had talked about this briefly, and I'm not sure if this is where we should have this discussion, but we had talked, so this talks about being able to donate leave. Briefly, we discussed the option because many of the employees see it as a benefit of allowing them to sell back a limited amount of leave. Would this be the
No,
area for
that's a
discussion for
separate-
this?
That, we did talk about that in the retreat, the option. We never followed through with the budget line item for that. That would be something in the policy.
But it would have a budget effect.
It would have a budget effect, but I would still like to look at adding that in. And I guess I'd like to understand what we expect that cost to be. Like I say, I hope no one takes us up on it because I want people to take their vacation. But the fact that it is seen as an added benefit that could help get someone through a difficult time or something like that.
So one thing that I'm concerned about just is that, is it legal? And I don't know, Paul, legal to put in there that while you can donate time, it would be inappropriate to solicit time. Is that legal to be in there? Because I think it would be fair for somebody to say, hey, we've got an employee who needs it if you want to approach and offer time. But I don't want people hovering over somebody's desk. Can you give me a few days? I really need them. We're friends. That's just inappropriate.
Yes. Is this the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the process is not gonna be a person gets donations from people. It'll be, people will donate to the bank in general, and then the bank will have employees that will consider requests by employees that come in. So it's not like,
Oh,
you're not gonna
it's
have an
not
individual
personal.
that's like, it's an account in the bank, it's just a bank. And they can
Okay.
access it.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Concerned result. There was one other in there that had the other policy. on.
I've got one, the outside employment. I don't think that's appropriate for a lot of our lower paid employees. I don't think we should be able to govern what they do and outside of other jobs. It's 9.100 on 57. It's very bottom. I think that's just kind of controlling their life on the times that we're not paying them.
Where's this at? Sorry.
9.100 on page 57, outside employment.
That one didn't have red markings in it. So I guess that's one.
For certain.
No, I think if we're not paying them for that time, we shouldn't dictate what, if they have another job. I think it's just inappropriate for any, I know it's a kind of a practice across the board for employers all over, but
I don't
It just says
think
that
we
they have to
can.
submit the notice.
well, it says no full-time employment shall be permitted to engage in any outside employment except as provided herein, and it goes through a list that basically what they have to approve of for you to be able to have a second job.
Well, what it says is the conditions are if that job conflicts with your existing job.
Existing job.
Yeah, the way it works is they apply, there's a form actually that they'll submit and.
Why should they have to?
Well,
If
there
it's
is,
not-
Just to make sure that it doesn't conflict with your current job.
yeah, there is an interest in making sure that the times don't conflict with your
Well,
schedule.
that I understand, but
Um,
if it's not any conflicting during your regular work
Then I
hours.
think
Then
it's
it would be
allowed.
approved.
Then they could go through this
Yeah.
process.
I get what you're
You
saying.
know what I mean?
though,
Why would they even?
Because
I get
there
it.
is a little bit of
I feel like
a.
we're making
we'll-
ownership
We'll
on you,
let you know if you can handle yourself.
and we're not even paying them enough for that, so.
I would support looking at this and discussing it because I think that it immediately questions their own capacity to know their limitations.
I do
So
too.
one of the concerns that, you know, an employer might have is if you've got, say, engineer, you know, fire engineer who's driving a vehicle, a large vehicle, and, you know, let's say they're working shifts that happen to be at night, and then they work a long shift in a warehouse right before they come on to our shift. In order to make sure that we manage our risk, we don't have sleepy people at wheels and things like that.
Or you operate heavy machinery.
Is it rare? That's rare that it would, I think most employees in and of themselves recognize that, and they're like, I'm not gonna work, you know, 40 hours a week, right? And then like go to my other job at the city and try to stay awake. But
So could we change it rather than having to receive permission?
That they have to show notice of it.
Just notice, you know, just say, this is my other job.
And
I
if it's
know, and
inappropriate
maybe
for
it
that,
turns
yeah.
into the same thing again, because we're still requesting notice, but I get the liability.
Well, yeah, and I think for liability for jobs that require driving, for instance, things like that. Giving notice of I have a secondary job is understandable. But dictating to them what secondary job that is, it's more, so if that's gonna be the job that you're going to have, this is what we require for this one. So you're gonna have to kind of, but that still leaves it up to the employee. And right now, it's being left up to the employer, and I think.
But does this policy encourage a discussion beforehand rather than a, hey, here's my other job that I got, and then.
Yeah,
And
I
then
would
we're
agree
like,
that,
oh, we
yeah.
don't like that, sorry, we're gonna, you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna let you go. So I like that it encourages discussion beforehand, not necessarily.
I think it just needs to be
Maybe
worded,
not.
because it's not just right there, it goes into the next page and stuff, so.
I will say in the 8 years
No, I don't think we've ever.
that
had
I've
one
been
of those.
here, we've never denied anybody.
I think we use it as kind of as a practice of notification, I think, because in B, it does talk about we don't want them to have a direct connection or continue that they're representing the city when they're on another job. A lot of times this is public safety, it's just police and fire that are.
Has this
reminding them
caused a
of-
problem or created concern with employees that they're thinking we're controlling their lives?
Well,
I just think it reads like it,
Well, you know, I've never been told that, like, I don't know if they
and I
want,
doubt they would probably
You know.
tell you, you know, you just.
so I would say I have no report of
So
that.
here's a question. If somebody is dancing, I know this sounds funny, but because looking at B, it says, are they in any way representing the city directly or indirectly? And if you have an officer or somebody, let's say your dare officer, I mean.
Right,
So
of course,
it
Dan.
could, you know, if Stan Penrod is out there at night doing things that we would question. But I really wonder, is there?
Why would
is
you
there
question it if
something-
it's not illegal? Let him do his
No.
dancing.
But see, he's representing.
No,
representing.
He's representing the city for the hours he's being paid by the
But it
city.
says either directly or indirectly.
Yeah,
That's the
we
question.
can't hold people accountable for what they do off of the hours we're not paying them. We're not their parents, and we don't own them.
As long as he's not
Actually, the
illegal.
state does. I mean, the state does hold you accountable for what you do outside of work.
I think it could be reworded.
They actually hold
Yeah.
you accountable,
I
actually.
think I'd say let's discuss that one.
Well, okay, so
Can we do that?
I have two
Yeah.
people that say yes. Do we need to revamp this? Because it's gonna take three.
Well, it was just us three that said to look at it.
You're agreeing to.
I'm okay looking at it and seeing
Okay.
if there's a way to reword it so it doesn't sound quite as bad. But I do think the premise of it is correct,
Yeah.
but
I
it could be
understand it.
worded better.
Do we want to do this separately and have the rest of it move forward, or do we want to do it?
That would actually be
Yeah.
fine. to
That would
that.
actually,
fine.
Would
yeah.
that be okay?
There's
Time
no
saver.
reason to turn it into.
Okay. So I'm gonna move this forward to the next agenda for approval, but not consent. I don't think we have anything for consent for the next agenda. Last general discussion regarding the budget. Again, I just said that I would always leave this on here until we've approved the budget. In the next meeting, we will be approving a tentative go forward budget. Any last minute things you want to bring up?
There was one item we did kind of defer from last meeting, that was the wage or potential pay for the court.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So let's talk about that. According to the packet, no cities pay for this unless they're paying city employees.
To do it, to run it.
Well, we aren't currently paying city employees to do this portion. Got a volunteer and yeah, I'm not, she's better woman.
But
than
we
me.
do have police overseeing it. That are there as well.
Yeah, there is police staff that participates in like trainings and the hearings and things like that. As far as the administration of the
Yeah.
court. Yeah, some of these cities will, utilize staff that they have and assign them to as part of that. They don't have like a dedicated administration. for these
They
people.
don't, a lot of them don't really have, do they have dedicated volunteers too? I know a lot of it's ran by volunteers, but it seems like only Syracuse is capable of keeping a solid volunteer for this specific purpose. And I think she's really worn it down. She's been doing it for a very long time, and we already have a strapped police department. So they definitely can't do the administration portion of it, and our administration portion.
We have a lot of committees and none of it are all volunteer. Except for the planning commission, which is an appointed position, so. You're opening a position here if you start paying this one. but that's
So
probably
I
gonna be
think
a
we should
request for everything
look
else.
at how much it would cost us to send those traffic violations back to our original court. Because if we lose the juvenile justice services, all those, and this year, I think it was 57.
And why would we lose the juvenile justice court
Well,
system?
I mean, if we gotta have someone run it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're saying if the
Volunteers
volunteers
leave.
dissolve.
Yeah, if we don't have a volunteer to run it.
okay, I mean, we have to be, look, I think this person's wonderful too, but. There's more than one person in the world.
Well, I understand that, but she's tried to find a replacement and it hasn't worked. And 3 times, separate times, she's tried to find a replacement for it. So if we don't have anybody to do it, then we don't have anybody to do it. And that's kind of the reality of what we're at with it.
One opportunity we can look at is to see if there's some administrative tasks that we could assign to staff, existing staff. I don't know what that would be or how, timing wise it works out with scheduling and that sort of thing, but it's just an idea that maybe we could explore with Lori about if she's doing things that require, administrative tasks that we could do here.
I don't know
by
if the
someone,
city's
but-
ever actively recruited because they've not wanted to infringe on, her willingness to do this. So when you say that nobody else will do it, I don't know that we've really tried. And I'm not suggesting that we want to,
Well, I haven't tried, but they have, she has, and
but
People
the
in
city,
juvenile
as a
court.
city, we do this. We're doing it now for several other positions. Now, again, the point I would say is if she's burned out after 10 years, she deserves a break, not a paycheck. She deserves a rest.
I think
Is-
she'd rather have a paycheck. She likes her job. She likes doing it. She just doesn't want to do it for free anymore, and I don't blame her.
Well,
It's not, well,
if you
honestly, I
say
mean, if we
this-
look at it, what it would cost us. Genuinely look at what it would cost us to send those cases back to our normal court system. Maybe we could start there. Well, no, if we get rid of the youth court, that's what will happen, is all those traffic citations will have to go through our regular court system.
Justice court.
So the justice court, so that's finding out what the cost it's gonna cost the city to have those go through the justice court. That we're currently saving because we're processing them through the youth court. Anybody?
I'd be curious to know what that number is.
I don't have the numbers, it's hard to quantify. We have a system it's kind of like plugging something in the system that's already running.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they've already got infrastructure to possibly support that Is that what you're saying?
There's a chance it's cash positive with all of the
Yeah.
fees.
Might be, but it's worth looking at.
Why was the position why is it a volunteer position?
It's always been, and
So-
it is in
so-
every other city.
So
No,
just like
One or what?
just
one or
like
two
the
years?
Arts
Oh.
Council is all
All
volunteer.
volunteer.
The Miss Syracuse pageant, they are all volunteer.
Okay.
Youth court is all volunteer.
Youth
Youth
council.
planning, youth city council is all
All
volunteer. Our parks, I can go on down with
Disaster
committees.
Okay, so
preparedness.
there's a
We're all
lot of
volunteer.
volunteer positions, and we're saying this one volunteer is burned out. So let's change this volunteer position to a paid.
Well, we can find another volunteer, but we have to actively find one.
Yeah.
Or we
Well,
can get
finding
her
them-
additional help.
Right.
Because I agree that, well, I went to their banquet, which was last week, and they all did a great job, but there was only like 2 or 3 leaders. I think somewhere in the back. So there was probably like 4 or 5 leaders, and I think they could use more help. They have a huge caseload.
Okay.
I think it would be worth
So we need
trying
more
to help
volunteers.
offload.
And I think that, the city has not actively tried, even if they've tried, we have not as a city gone out and said that this is open, which is a whole big gamut that we haven't even tried.
So then we should definitely start there, do that.
I think that's
I
what we should
agree.
do
They
this
break for
summer.
the summer, so it's a seasonal
Right.
thing. They're not throughout the summer. So now's a good time.
This is the
find
time
someone,
to
yeah.
advertise and say that we're
I
looking
think that's
for.
what we should try first. Is
And if we don't succeed, what is your contingency? Trying is
Yeah.
great, but if we don't succeed, let's think of what our contingency is, so we're not stuck waiting again. Like, what,
I think we can't act until we've tried. That's what we do with every other position.
My suggestion on the second place situation would be to consider what it would be to set it.
yeah,
Because it's true, she can't sustain it if you get burned out and it's a time commitment.
and it definitely is, and I'm all for more volunteers. I love free labor. I think it's great learning experiences. I offer free labor all the time. But at the same time, if we can't get that free labor, we kind of have to have an understanding of what next.
And just so everyone understands, so that's the business side of it. The service side of the youth court, so everyone understands how that differentiates from the justice court. The youth court is more of a restorative justice program where the applicants have already admitted guilt. And that now they're just working through how do they restore what they've done wrong. And so the youth actually give the recommendations on how they can
So she's
reconcile.
working with the kids
Mhm.
and that's a quite a group of kids.
Yeah, my daughter serves on that, and she can talk. She always talk about how awesome those leaders are, and also
Amazing.
is really impressed at the ability the youth court has had to help kids stay out of juvie and kind of put them on a corrective path. And so I think it also not only helps the leaders, the kids, but it also helps the kids that are serving on the youth court.
And
So it is.
I just bring that up because there's, when you direct the stream from youth court to justice court, it's a different type of program that
It
you're
is,
directing.
yeah.
So just so you're aware of that.
Seth, did you want to weigh in?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with the direction we're going. I think
Okay.
first see and then collect data and make an informed decision.
Any other parts of the budget somebody wants to bring up?
I was just gonna go over highlights. So we talked about this tax increase of $1.2 million. And the way we're gonna present it in truth and taxation, if you're okay with it, is that will cover the new positions. So the paramedic program, the second half. And there's 9 positions in the general fund that add up to that 1.2 million. So if you're okay with that, council, that's kind of the
So we are not.
presentation we want to give. For truth and taxation.
I also wanted to specifically, because I think it's worth addressing the fact that this also covers pay increases to employees that, because I know that was a huge deal on social media and it deserves to be addressed specifically. That said, hey, this is us answering your call.
So when you, in the hearing, like the night of, in August 9th, so when you do the hearing, so in the budget, there's enough money to cover either wages or new people.
So we're saying what we want to do is for the new people.
And so if you decide to maybe not raise it as much as the proposal is, then, you can decide to either, right now, the way Steve's talking about, there's positions you wouldn't fund. If
With what you're saying, then people wouldn't get those raises if we didn't do the full.
until after August 9th.
Okay, I understood. Okay, carry on then. But can we at least put in the presentation, this is what we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that that's what led to us.
That was
needing
how we
funds.
got to this.
That's how
Yeah.
we're here, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
It just helps because, part of the budget is just natural growth and sales tax. That can cover some of the needed issues of the city, and it's where you assign.
I think you've chosen the best approach. Thank you.
That's it. Okay, unless there's an objection, we will adjourn.
No one ever objects to that.
I know. Seth, did you want to object?
I object to objecting.
Nice. There you go, animals.
Good night.
Oh, man, that goat every morning, I gotta close my window and remind myself,
Okay.
I support the care and love of animals. Because I've had.
Just as a warning.
Yes, and I've asked,
We don't always get
they
out
are
this.
delicious. And that
Not
goat
video.
sounds like it would be
Okay,
delicious.
did I end it? I think I did.